Hello, and thank you for exploring Lakehead International's videos. My name is Jordan, and I am the International New and Social Media Officer. I'm also the host of the Lakehead International Live series, a fun and informative way for you to connect with current international students, professors, and ask questions about admissions and everything Lakehead. You are about to watch a recording from one of our previous live sessions. If any questions arise throughout the video, please do not hesitate to comment below. If you would like to check out some of our upcoming live sessions, please head over to our website at lakeheadu.ca/international-live. Let's begin. Lakehead University is a public university within Canada, more specifically in the province of Ontario. We have over 8,500 students and 2,000 faculty and staff across two campuses. Our two campuses are located in Thunder Bay, Ontario, or Northwestern Ontario as a region, and our other campus is located in Mirella, Ontario, or Central Ontario. Both campuses are located just 90 minutes from Toronto. Our Aurelia campus is 90 minutes by driving, and our Thunder Bay campus is a 90-minute flight. We as an institution are very proud to be recognized and highly regarded within Canadian higher education. So with that being said, for 5 years in a row between 2015 and 2019, we were actually recognized as the #1 undergraduate research university in Canada. In this year, we are ranked #2 for that same fact, and we are #2 undergraduate research in Canada. By Times Higher Education, we're also recognized as the top Canadian university under 10,000 students in the entire world, so something that we're very proud of. And Maclean's magazine actually recognizes us as Canada's top 10 universities for primarily undergraduate. And so those three achievements for us are something that we're really proud to talk about and something that we've worked hard to achieve in general. But with that being said, I would be remiss not to mention sort of how we came to secure those achievements and rewards. And so with that being said, Lakehead University has committed to small class sizes as one of our key factors in all of our program deliveries. And so on our Thunder Bay campus, the student to professor ratio is for every 15 students, we have 1 professor. And on our Aurelia campus, for every 13 students, we have 1 professor. We also truly believe that the small class sizes and our connection to our communities aid significantly with our employment rate for our graduates. And so for 96.7% of our graduates, they are actually employed within 2 years upon graduation. And so that is above both the provincial average, so higher than all other Ontario universities, higher than the average for all Ontario universities, as well as above the national average. So again, higher than the average across all of Canadian universities in general. And last but not least, since we are hosting an international webinar, I'd be remiss not to mention that we're very proud to have over 70 nations represented within our student body across campus. And hopefully one day you'll be able to join us and add to that number and bring your culture and diversity here to Thunder Bay or Aurelia. And without further ado, we'll dive into the academics at Lakehead. And with that being said, I'll first chat about all 10 of our academic faculties, which include business administration, engineering, science and environmental studies, natural resources management, education, social sciences and humanities, health and behavioral sciences, law, medicine, and graduate studies. So I wanted everyone to note the 10 different academic faculties, because although today we will be chatting about health and behavioral sciences in particular, and of course the Department of Psychology, you get a better idea and a variety of the options you have when you join an institution that is fully comprehensive. It also allows you to recognize that there are minors, there are certificates, there are specializations, concentrations, elective courses that you can take that don't have to necessarily fall within your traditional academic faculty, but actually could fall within another realm of the university and potentially add to both your interests and your passions, so you can continue to expand and grow on those, but they also add a benefit to your career prospects or that next stage of your education career. On the note of Faculty of Health and Behavioral Sciences, though, I will pass it over to our psychology faculty team, and they'll chat a bit about the department and program structure.
Thank you so much, Jordan, for that great introduction to Lakehead and to our Department of Psychology. That was great. It was really nice to see how we're positioned within such a great university at Lakehead. So I just wanted to start by introducing what psychology is. Obviously, you're interested, and it depends on where you're at in your own academic journey, how much you already understand or know about the discipline. But psychology is the scientific study of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. We're usually focusing on human thought, feeling, and behavior, but there is also a lot of research in psychology on animal behavior and the links between animal behavior and human behavior. So all of that is very interesting. So if you have questions like, how do we think? How does learning work? How does language develop? What motivates people? How are people different? What gives some people certain personality traits and other people different personality traits? Or if you're like me, you're interested in how do we impact the natural environment, or how are we influenced by the natural environment? How are we impacted by climate change? There's so many questions you can ask that psychology can be useful in addressing. And if you want to use a disciplined, systematic, scientific approach to thinking about and learning about yourself and other people, then psychology might be just the right discipline for you. I find it, of course, I'm biased, but to me, it is an excellent foundation for just about any career, and is a great starting point for any academic journey. So with that, maybe I could jump to the next slide. Oh, I want to mention, sorry, we do offer both undergraduate and graduate programs, which we'll be talking about shortly. So within our department, we have about 13 faculty, 2 of them located at the Aurelia campus and the rest in the Thunder Bay campus. And we have about 40 graduate students, so that's in our master's and PhD programs, and roughly 300 undergraduate students across the 4 years or so of study. Yeah, you can explore the topic of psychology beginning right from your undergraduate and then expanding and building up into a master's and PhD program. So maybe with that, I'll jump to the next slide and we can focus on undergraduate programs.
I was just going to jump in there and note the fact that sometimes students don't always recognize that it's the convenience that a school is able to offer both undergraduate and graduate. So for our students that are looking or pursuing an undergraduate degree, there are opportunities, of course, then to easily transition into a graduate degree within your same field of study here at Lakehead University. Of course, if you're studying psychology and you enjoy that path and that degree, we would encourage you to pursue that passion and continue on. There are also a wide variety of other master's or graduate courses that you can take. If you're one of our master students joining us at the graduate level from the outset, of course, hearing that we have a PhD provides you with that great opportunity to continue the education if that's the path that you want to go down. We'll chat about both the continuing education and career opportunities. So the 2 traditional paths that you see out of a university degree towards the end of today's presentation. But for now, we'll head on over to the undergraduate first year at a glance slide, and I'll pass it back to the psychology team to chat more.
Thanks, Jordan. Yes, absolutely. Great points there. Yes, so the undergraduate programs, we offer both a Bachelor of Arts and a Bachelor of Science. And we have several different program types within each of those. So before I talk about the first year, I just want to give you a sense of what those 2 different program streams mean, because students often have questions about that. So we offer a Bachelor of Arts and a Bachelor of Science, and the psychology part of those programs are the same. Psychology is a science, and you're learning the scientific method to studying humans or animal behavior. But in the arts program, in the Bachelor of Arts, the electives you take alongside your psychology courses are arts courses. So that includes humanities and social sciences courses, such as English, history, or other languages, and social sciences like sociology. So those are the electives that you're taking alongside your psychology. In the science program, you're taking science electives alongside your psychology. So biology, chemistry, math, and so on. So which of those you take, the Bachelor of Arts or the Bachelor of Science, depends entirely on where you will excel the best. Where will you do best? What kinds of courses do you enjoy? And you can, with psychology being a science, what is so great is you can see how it fits in with both arts type electives and science type electives. And you can really explore those synergies among the courses you take and seeing how psychology is positioned within that broader academic dialogue, either from a scientific perspective or an arts perspective. So we can always advise you throughout your program if you're struggling with choosing between arts and science. That is something that Jen is great at doing and advising students who are trying to decide which way they should go. So we're very supportive around that process. You don't have to know right away necessarily. We can help you navigate that decision. And so once you've chosen Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science, we have a number of programs as well within that. So we offer, as Jordan mentioned, you can choose a combined degree, such as with education, or we offer a combined degree with women's studies or philosophy, so you can do a double major, in other words. Psychology also pairs very nicely with any other discipline. So we offer a minor, which is just 4 courses, 4 FCE courses that you would take, and you could take, say, a biology major and a psychology minor, or a sociology major and a psychology minor. So we like to encourage that as well. If you don't, if you want to focus on something else but want to add a little psychology, that's also great. So once you've kind of made that decision which program you're going into, your first year, basically, you take one main course in psychology, and that's Introduction to Psychology, which provides an overview of the whole discipline. So starting with, well, what is our perspective? What is the science of psychology all about? What are the research methods that you use? And then looking a little bit at each of the different areas of psychology. So us talking about the brain and neuroscience and physiological aspects of the person. And then looking at cognition. So how does learning or memory work? And then social behavior, how do relationships form? How do group dynamics happen? And development, how do we change over time as children and adults? And individual differences like personality and mental health. So you'll start to learn about how everything you've learned so far in Introduction to Psychology can relate to the profession of psychology and helping others. So that's a little bit about what our undergraduate programs look like, and Introduction to Psychology specifically. Alongside Intro Psych, of course, you'd be taking 4 other full courses or 8 half courses relating to your other elective requirements, be they Bachelor of Arts type requirements or Bachelor of Science type requirements. Jen, did you want to jump in? I don't know if I missed anything in talking about just the undergraduate programs in general.
For sure. So I wanted to just note that our programs currently are only available at the Thunder Bay campus. But if you are on the Aurelia campus in another program, you can pursue a minor in psychology at the Aurelia campus, but that's all that's available right now. If you are in Thunder Bay and doing your psychology degree, you can minor in other areas as well. So there's lots of minors that we offer to add to your psychology degree. So even if you're not interested in a double major, there are minors available to students as well. And I think that's about it. I think you covered everything.
Awesome. Thank you so much. On that note, I think it's a great segue talking about minors to Rick, our guest, our current student guest. I have a few questions for you about your undergraduate experience as well. Maybe you can shed some light and provide insight to our viewers. I'm curious, first question is sort of reflecting on your first couple of years of study. After completing that Intro to Psychology course and getting the foundational material, what areas of study have you been most passionate about, or what courses have you been most excited about in your maybe second and third year, Rick?
So like Dr. Stroink mentioned, that in the first year we have to choose the Intro to Psychology course, which is a mandatory course. And I think that's a great opportunity for students to look around and get electives and see what they want to maybe minor in, or even if they are, they might not be interested in what they thought they'd be interested in their high school programs. So I took a bunch of minors in my first year. I took sociology, philosophy, biology, and I wanted to see which ones I'd be more interested in now. And now I'm minoring in biology. And so in my second year, most classes I took with psychology were biological based, so neuroscience, cognitive psychology, and then in biology I took anatomy. So that has been kind of my field of interest since second year. But yeah, the first year provides a really good opportunity for you to spread out and choose your electives and see which things you're interested in. And the first course, Intro to Psych, was actually what made me even more interested in psychology than I already was. Dr. Molan taught that course to us, and he was great. And I've heard from my friends that Dr. Schwab has taught that class, and she is also a great prof. So I think every prof I've heard of from Intro to Psych has been really great.
Awesome. That's definitely encouraging to hear. And I'm excited to hear that, of course, you're coupling both that science stream and that biology minor with your psychology degree to focus on some of those areas that you're interested in. And it's going to allow you to either use that to your benefit or to your advantage when you move into the career field, or if you're going to continue at your education. Before we move on from that slide, another question I have for you, Ritwik, is I know that you participate in research. So as a first year or as an undergraduate student, could you shed just a bit of light on some of the research opportunities that you've been involved in?
Yeah, for sure. So in psychology, you get a credits or bonus points for participating in research since your first year, and that is a great opportunity for you to experience like firsthand that what research is like. So when you're studying in our first year and you read something like, so the research proves that, or research suggests, not proves, the research suggests that people are more likely to do this after this. And then you wonder, like, what does that really mean? And in psychology, because you can participate into research since your first year, you have opportunities to hands-on experience how the research is conducted, because we have lots of opportunities at psychology department for research. And one of those researches, I got an email from my prof, Dr. Molan, that there's a research assistant opportunity with Dr. Tan, which I started in my first year summer. And that has been, and there was actually, there was a course, Psychology 2917, which was for research participants. And if you complete a research, you can get a half credit for that. So first I started for that reasons that I can get a half a credit, but even after my course was over in one semester, I still continued doing it, and I'm still doing it, and I'll probably continue doing it till my fourth year, because it's such an exciting and it's such an exciting opportunity for you to learn from someone like Dr. Tan. She's very experienced, and she is really inspiring as well. So it's a really great opportunity, and I've been part of another research now, which is for another student's thesis. And yeah, research opportunities are like really good at Lakehead, especially for psychology department. And I'm really glad that I took the research assistant position with Dr. Tan.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that insight and your experience in research. I know that there is actually, as you mentioned, that first year advantage for our undergraduate psychology students. So I'll pass it over to the faculty to highlight the specifics of that initiative, essentially. I don't want to speak wrongly on that or give infactual information.
Thank you, Jordan, and thank you, Ritwik. Ritwik summarized that very well. And also, I'm very proud and pleased to hear of the impact that has had. So yeah, right away from first year, you get the opportunity to be involved in research. As a first year student, you can get involved as a research participant, participating in various research studies. And there's all kinds of studies going on all the time, conducted by our fourth year undergraduate students for their theses, or by our graduate students, or by our faculty, in a range of topic areas. You know, from eating behavior to you know, aspects of personality and competitiveness, to you know, climate change anxiety, all kinds of topics of research that you can participate in. So that's what you would do in your first year. You get to sample all of these different studies and see what, you know, from the perspective of a participant in a study, what does it look like? And then right from second year, this is what Ritwik was talking about, there's a course called Psychology 2917, or Research Opportunity. And this is a chance for students to work one-on-one with a professor like Dr. Tan to be involved in supporting their research projects. Now you're working as a research assistant behind the scenes running a project. And some projects are very large. Dr. Tan, for example, does cultural research. She's studying processes, across different cultures. And so there's a lot of, transcribing and creating forms or instruments to test or handling data. So there's lots of different ways you can be involved. Some of my own students, I have research opportunity students every year, and I've had them involved in searching literature, reading different studies, finding survey measures that we can use, setting up SurveyMonkey to run an online survey, helping to create the forms for research ethics, maybe even doing a little bit of data management, sort of organizing the data as it comes in. Usually pre-COVID, we also have a research lab. Many of our professors do, where they do in-person research with people. And that might involve actually working one-on-one with, first year research participants and then walking through a research protocol. So having them fill out a particular form, giving certain instructions, having them do the next task, essentially interviewing the participants. So at any rate, there's a number of different ways you can be involved in a research project. And Psych 2917 allows you to get a course credit for doing that work, which is a great way to get exposed to research and also to become known to the professors, because that's how it builds. So Ritwik was talking about how from his research opportunity course, he continued to be involved as a volunteer research assistant into third year and beyond, perhaps. And from there, it can turn into your honors thesis. And so you can do an honors thesis in a topic of interest that is more maybe something that's closer to your heart, and you can dig in a little bit and actually run a project. So one of the general skills you pick up from a psychology degree are things like project management. So by the time you're doing a thesis, you can manage your own project in a disciplined scientific way from the beginning, reviewing what is known, developing hypotheses, developing a method, testing your hypotheses with that method, and analyzing your results. So there's that's one of the skills you're gaining from the research experience throughout your whole undergraduate degree. And that provides you a really good foundation if you want to go on into any graduate programs, because you are now equipped to, you'd have reference letters from your supervisors, and you have experiences you can draw on where you've actually tangibly been shown to be working on research projects. I don't know if Jen or Ritwik, did you want to jump in with anything I might have missed?
For sure. So I think Ritwik's experience speaks to the advantage of LU being, or Lakehead University being, a smaller institution. So students really do get to know their professors, professors get to know their students. And so there are a lot of opportunities for students. Part of my role is also to collect those opportunities for research and participation, and distribute that to our students and let them know that, professors are looking for people. And so it really speaks to that benefit of Lakehead University and having those smaller class sizes, especially as you progress through academic years. And so I would also like to mention too, some of our classes also offer labs and tutorials. So you get that sort of applied learning, a little bit more experiential learning opportunities, a little bit more hands-on learning. And that begins in some of our second year courses as well. So that also builds on your opportunity to get to know your instructors and the graduate students, and really apply and deepen your learning with some of our second year courses as well.
Awesome. I think of all three of you covered that gracefully and beautifully. And the only thing I would add is just sort of mentioning that the significance or importance of integrating some of that experiential learning or the research participation or just that extracurricular activity into your degree and that competitive advantage that you'll gain from that. So whether you're going to move into the career field upon graduation, or if you're going to move into that next level of study, do another degree, who knows? The opportunities are endless, honestly. But with that being said, just having that experience and having that added to both your CV, I mean, of course, it does look great on paper, to be upfront and blunt, but also the actual gained experience, the lived experience of being able to participate with professors that have been doing this for their entire careers, essentially, is really, really important. And so with that being said, I think it's another great segue into our graduate programs. So we do have one slide dedicated to our MA Clinical Psychology, and then we have another slide following this for our Masters of Science in Psychological Sciences. I hope I got that right.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jordan. Yeah, so we offer graduate programs in both clinical psychology and psychological science. And for clinical psychology, well, for both of them, but for clinical psychology, I'll start there. We have both a master's and a PhD program, and they build upon each other. It's more or less assumed when you're in the master's program that you're continuing on to the PhD. Because what this leads to is being a licensed or registered clinical psychologist in the province of Ontario, which then expands to the rest of Canada and beyond. So it's leading to being a licensed clinical psychologist. And what that means is that you're able to do assessment, diagnosis, and treatment for a range of mental health issues. So it's a very advanced grounding in the profession and science of psychology. So we had a question about applications into a clinical psychology program, and we do require that you have an undergraduate degree in psychology to be eligible for the Masters of Clinical Psychology. But if you were to speak to Jen, she can help you get in touch with the right people, and also to help you maybe develop or expand your undergraduate backgrounds that you would be eligible to apply. So yeah, with the MA Clinical Psychology program, looks like as you have a number of courses you take, including statistics, but also a series of clinical courses that build on each other, beginning with clinical assessment, which is the basic, basics of how do you do an assessment to diagnose a person, how do you assess their intelligence or their behavior following standard protocols and approaches with an appropriate professional style. You also learn about ethics and professional issues, and then how to do basic things like clinical interviewing, which is the very beginnings of a therapeutic process. You interview a person to kind of get a sense of where they're at. And then there's a course in psychotherapy as well. And it's still, the whole program is designed around this scientist practitioner model, is the recognition. What sets psychology apart from, say, psychotherapy or social work is that it is still a science, and you're drawing on your ability to conduct scientific inquiry or research into the underlying issues, into understanding how the tools that you're using are undergirded by scientific evidence to support their use. So that's why you still do a master's thesis, and you have to take that advanced statistics course as well, and then a series of electives. And you also begin to do a master's practicum, and I'll let Jen speak to maybe if she recalls the number of hours, for example, of practicum that you do at the master's program, which starts in your second year. And there's a number of opportunities that we have that are excellent introductions to the process of actually engaging in practice in the community. We have clinical supervisors or partners throughout the community, and we also have some in-house clinical opportunities that you can begin with, so that you have sort of a nice introduction to not an extreme form of mental health issue that you might be working with, but maybe some sort of a gentle introduction to the practice of clinical psychology in your master's, which then would pick up into the PhD, which we'll leave for now. But the PhD builds on that. And again, it's still scientist practitioner, but you have more hours of clinical practice and more advanced courses that you would take as well. Jen, did you want to jump in with any other details on the clinical program?
For sure. So students get 400 practicum hours in their master's program. And we also offer what's called a didactics course that will be built into your program to help prepare you for that. So you're not just, put into the community to practice. We also work with you to prepare you for that and train you for that. And so it's a very hands-on and very guided process. And we have some great practicum opportunities in our community through our hospital. If you're interested in specializing in children, working with various at-risk groups. So there's lots of different opportunities depending on where your interests lie, or if you're not sure, exploring, all of those opportunities. So that's built into our master's program as well. And then if you continue on to the PhD program, we'll offer more practicum experience as well as a year internship.
Awesome. And one note with that is essentially being a smaller university in a smaller community. Sometimes students might think that their opportunities or their access to those opportunities is going to be limited. But with that being said, I think that we actually have a really significant benefit to being in a more tight-knit community. I mean, Thunder Bay and Orillia itself, they offer really great hometowns for our students, but also the connections that our faculty and our department and our staff in general have been able to foster over many years. We're well over 50 years as an institution now, have really drawn to some significant advancements within our programs, as well with psychology and your mission of doing practicum hours, whether it's at the local hospital, which is across the street from Lakehead University, and it's the local acute care and trauma center for Northwestern Ontario. So if you're interested in that broader health and behavioral sciences field or health sciences in general, that would be another great opportunity for you to see a healthcare setting in Northwestern Ontario and in Canada in general. On that note, we'll jump over to the Masters of Science in Psychological Sciences, and I'll pass it back to the faculty to speak to.
Thanks, Jordan. So we also offer a psychological science master's and PhD. And this program is really meant for those who are interested in deepening their understanding of an area of psychology in an academic or scholarly sense. So this master's and PhD program does not lead to being licensed as a clinical psychologist or any other kind of practice. Rather, it's meant for those who are curious about an area of psychology. Maybe you're really interested in neuroscience and want to go on in a career either in academics or in healthcare or in policy and government research, where you have a really good understanding of an area of psychology like neuroscience or social psychology or developmental psychology, and you want to pursue that research, and as well as advanced skills in research itself. So we have a number of students who've successfully completed the Masters of Psychological Science program and then gone on to careers in other things. So in working with government, setting policy, working in social services and management, or creating programs or evaluating programs in social sciences or health sciences or education. And we've even had some gone on into CSIS, working with, there's forensics and spy type things, and also business is another direction you can take. So a Master's of Psychological Science really caps off an undergraduate degree and demonstrates that you have an advanced capacity to manage a project, a larger project on your own, to write, to conduct research, to evaluate, to be systematic in your thinking. So with the Masters of Psychological Science program, we do require that you complete a master's thesis, take multivariate statistics and research methods, as well as additional elective courses within psychology or from another graduate program. There's also a research seminar that you participate in, where you attend talks that are going on throughout the university, throughout the department in particular. All of that is meant to give you a well-rounded perspective as a scholar. And you work very closely with your supervisor in the psychological science program. It's an apprenticeship-based model, both the master's and the PhD, where you're digging in, working closely with faculty in areas of psychology in which you're interested. Jen, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you covered everything, Dr. Stroink. Thank you.
Awesome. On that note, something that I sort of may have noticed, and this is probably from my own experience, I'm a proud business graduate of Lakehead University, so I did a 4-year HBCom, and so I saw the second course here, and I saw it on the previous slide, statistics. And so our audience, that might worry some people. Math is not everyone's strong suit, and I understand that. I appreciate it. I relate to you. One thing I wanted to note is that we actually have an academic zone here at Lakehead University where students can seek out academic support. And if they're struggling in a certain area, for example, math or statistics in general, they actually can get that peer support. They can access tutors. If there's enough demand within actual courses, they could offer statistics help for psychology 5151. And so we've seen that with many of our courses. I've specifically seen quite a few for our engineering courses where they're really heavily focused within this physics or science or math in general, but there's definitely a lot of opportunity for support here. And I know for a fact that reaching out to your professor if you need additional help, or making those connections in some of our smaller class sizes, being able to connect with peers more easily is another big factor in that network of support that you have at Lakehead University. And so with that being said, I think that's another great segue into our student clubs and organizations. I'll pass it over to Hector to chat about some of the clubs and organizations within the university, and more specifically that cater to psychology majors.
Great, thank you, Jordan. So yes, we have two student associations open to psychology students. The Psychology Association for Lakehead students that goes by PALS, and the Psi Chi chapter. PALS hosts workshops, mentorship opportunities, networking events, and presentations throughout the year to engage students both on campus and the field of study. They organize guest lectures recently, and our Psi Chi chapter is part of an internationally recognized honors society where members must have a GPA in the top 35% of their class across their university grades, and a minimum of 3.0 GPA average on their psychology courses in order to join the chapter. And they work alongside with the PALS, or the Psychology Association for Lakehead students, to organize these events throughout the campus and throughout the year as well.
Awesome. I don't know if Mirella or Jen or Rivik, if either three of you have anything to add or share from your experience in any one of these programs, or just reflecting on what you've seen students do with these programs. I'll pass it over to you maybe. If not, we'll have other stuff to chat about too.
Sure. Oh, sorry, Dr. Stroink, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Jen.
Okay, so one of the things that our Psi Chi group does is offer a mentorship program. So we connect undergraduate students with upper year undergraduate or even master's, PhD students, and it really reflects how much student success really matters to our department and to our own students. So we connect you with an upper year student, and they can help mentor you through your academic experiences, help you with career goals, really help you explore the different areas of psychology, the different options for career paths, and really just connect you with somebody in the program to share those experiences and answer any types of questions that you have, whether they're academic related or not. And so I've really seen students at the undergraduate level come in and blossom because of these relationships that they develop with upper year students, and continue those relationships throughout their academic career, and then become involved in some of our groups themselves, right? So there's lots of opportunity for you to become involved through these, as well as have a mentor to help you through your academic journey.
Awesome. And I think on that note, maybe just adding, of course, there are traditional full-time staff, Jen, yourself being one of them, to support our students. But then I recognize also the fact that sometimes it's simply easier to connect with somebody who's lived that experience, or who is in the degree or pursuing a similar degree to you. And so being able to ask those questions and have that mentor, I could see the significant benefit there. And I know that it's a recognized benefit as well. On that note, though, we're going to chat about career opportunities. So essentially what I've attempted to do with today's slide deck is walk you through the program structure, give you a brief overview of what you can anticipate in your first year of study, but also what might come along in the subsequent years if that's a part of your degree. So now, as we wrap up the degree, you're going to be looking at career opportunities and career prospects, or continuing your education. If you're moving into that career field, of course, the list on your screen is by no means an exhaustive list of all the jobs or titles you may hold with a psychology degree. This is showcasing the variety of career paths, though, that you could go down. So I'll pass it over to Mirella maybe to chat about some of these career paths, and maybe you could also speak, or Jen, you could speak to sort of where we've seen most traditionally or most recently some of our students moving into.
Thank you, Jordan. Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities from the undergraduate program. You can move into any kind of career where you're working with people. Jordan mentioned business. That's one we often remind people of as well, because you're learning about what people respond to, what people are motivated by, how they learn, what sort of cues or triggers in the environment might move their behavior in one direction or another. And that would be great in any kind of career involving sales or human resource management or management in general in any business environment where you need to motivate your staff or you need to work with people in a team environment. So you have a lot of those foundational skills there. But you also have skills in research. And Jordan mentioned, or maybe that was Hector, don't be too afraid of our statistics requirements. But that's true. And in our second year statistics course, we actually do describe it that you can do this level of statistics, with just a calculator. There's nothing terribly scary. It's just giving you that chance to be socialized to how we think in terms of probability and likelihood and chances and relationships. So at any rate, those skills in statistics and research methods, you may not realize it when you're coming out of your undergraduate because you think, oh, I don't know anything because I see these professors who know so much more, but actually you know a lot in light of the general population. And so that's why you can have a career right out of your undergraduate in different aspects of research, program evaluation, policy analyst, and so on. And then any kind of health or social service career. You can work, as a counselor or a therapist or a clinical coordinator, often with just an undergraduate, depending on what the type of position is, sort of a frontline mental health worker. Or you can go on to graduate studies in different areas. We talked today about masters in clinical psychology and psychological science, but there are also graduate programs. Lakehead offers social work. That is a common pathway for students from psychology to social work and then to becoming a social worker or a therapist. There are psychotherapy programs elsewhere in Canada that you can take coming out of our undergraduate, and then you go, it's faster than going through clinical psychology, and you don't assess or diagnose, but you treat just sort of more regular everyday mental health issues in the community. So there's a lot of different opportunities. Education is another big one. Many of our students go on to become teachers because in addition to a content area, you have a good understanding of how the mind works and how children develop. And that's so essential in a teacher. Jen, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, I know we talk a lot about like undergraduate opportunities and then graduate school, but graduate school is not the only path. A lot of what I do for students who maybe don't want to pursue a master's program, but would like to still do something after their degree, there are a lot of programs out there that can offer you 1 year to enhance your degree, get some, very specific skill set or learning to go into the field that you're wanting to, such as addictions counseling, those types of things. So we can also offer you some advising on how to access and where to access those types of programs, so that you're somewhere in between. You're not just going out into the workforce after your degree. You still want to pursue some learning, but you don't quite want to pursue the master's or PhD type programs. So there are also those opportunities that we can explore with you as well.
Yes, thank you, Jen. The 1 year postgraduate diploma programs at the college, there are many of those that are great to cap off your undergraduate with some really tangible applied skills. Like there's a program in mental health and addiction where you learn how to work in a frontline environment, maybe conducting group therapy under the supervision of a psychologist, but you're actually doing that work. And that's an example of a great pathway. I also wanted to highlight security and intelligence there because I've been interacting with quite a few students and people in the community recently that are recognizing that police forces are now looking for to hire police officers who have a bachelor's degree in either psychology or social work. That seems to be their focus now, which is fantastic. They're recognizing that what a police officer does isn't so much about physical enforcement entirely. It's also an awful lot of community and social work and being that front line of working with people who are not at their best at that moment. So psychology is also a great preparation for those sorts of lines of work as well.
Awesome. I think both of you spoke really well and covered sort of that variety of career paths, but also left the door open. And that's sort of the thing I want to leave with the audience is that the door is open with a psychology degree. One from Lakehead University, a Canadian psychology degree too, holds lots of value and power within the career or that next stage, whether you are going to stay within Canada. We'd love to have you, of course, but if you choose to maybe return home with your degree or travel internationally, it's still in many cases is highly regarded, if not transferable, in the sense if you've earned an accreditation or a certificate within Canada, typically we are held to a high standard of our education. And so transferring that certificate or that license, whatever it might be, can be less of a challenge in that case. Another thing I wanted to note is actually a friend of mine and her experience of doing the psychology program at Lakehead University. She minored in visual arts actually, and now she is wrapping up her second undergraduate degree in visual arts, and her intentions are to be an art psychologist and do art therapy with youth. And I just think it's incredible to see how she has pursued her passions as a artist, which essentially, of course, started as a passion just like that, and she's turned into quite the highly regarded artist within the Thunder Bay community, and now she is working with also some of the art galleries in Toronto and Southern Ontario. So she's made a name for herself, to say the least, but I'm excited to see where she goes with her psychology degree coupled with that experience in visual arts.
Thank you for checking out today's video. If you have any questions, you can always comment below. Stay connected and follow us on our social media channels to stay informed about upcoming webinars and get an insider sneak peek of Lakehead University. See you next time.